Loving Sai Ram and greetings from Prashanthi Nilayam. Before I begin, I would like to read out a question that I received just this morning. This is from a listener somewhere. I won't mention his name or the country of his origin, but I will read out his question. The listener says, in the series Miracle of Love Part 4, you reported how badly Sathya was treated by his brother and in-laws. So, when his father came after the loss of the first baby, he saw the injury on the hand of Sathya. He heard from a neighbor woman how badly Sathya was treated. So the father asked Sathya to tell him the truth about what had happened. Sathya said, I injured my hand by falling, which was an excuse in order to protect his brother and in-laws. According to my understanding, that is not adherence to truth. That is false information in order to protect somebody. Also, in the story with Ramesh and his friend Suresh ? When they were unable to pass the written test and Sathya managed to write the test for them, and no teacher discovered that the test was not written by them. So they could pass the test with great marks, but was that not some kind of swindle in order to help his friends? I'm glad the listener was very frank and asked the questions. I'm not going to answer the question now. As I have written to the listener, the issues raised are such that they require a separate and carefully prepared talk. I hope to address the issues raised there and some related matters in a later talk. But for now, let me say that in the case of practically every avatar, there are many questions of this kind that are raised. Off the cuff, I can narrate one or two instances from the Rama avatar, and I can do the same with Krishna avatar also. But as I told you, I'm not going to into that territory right now. All I shall say for the moment is that we cannot and should not look at avatars with the prism of our limited understanding, knowledge, perception, and conception. You may not agree with me, but I would hope you'll bear with me till I get the opportunity to explain all that in greater detail. For now, we shall just put that matter aside as I have done for the moment. God, as we all know, always comes down with a very specific purpose. He may or may not tell us, but he knows that he has got a purpose. Now in this case, when God came down as Sathya, or Satyanarayana Raju to be more precise, and arrived in Puttaparthi in 1926, he decided he would remain Sathya for a while until he was ready to disclose that he was more than a mere student and that there was a purpose in his coming down as an avatar or incarnation. He took his own time to set the stage, prepare the stage, and reveal to the world that he was not just a student, but something much more. Uruvakonda was the place that Sathya had chosen to make a transition. He didn't make the transition overnight. Rather, the transition was arranged through a series of incidents, some of which I shall recall today. Those incidents left his brother and many others in the family totally confused and absolutely baffled. They couldn't make head or sense of what was going on, but something was going on. But outside the family, however, many people did not bother about the incidents, but they began to see that there was something very divine in this boy, about whom much was being said, and who was reported to be showing all kinds of strange behavior. They were not exposed to those incidents, and they were not exposed to the behavior, strange behavior of Sathya. I would say strange behavior like that. But they saw aspects of his divinity. That's all that mattered to them. This transition that I was telling you about ran through a period of about 10 months roughly, from January to October of 1940. For people of those days, what they saw were mere dots. There was this incident on that day, there was this incident on that day, Satya behaved like this on this day, and so on. They only saw dots. But I, as a narrator coming more than half a century later, and having had the experience of listening to Swami and reading so many books about him, including the incomparable narratives of Kasturi, I present you not the dots, but one line. I have an advantage, and you who are listening also have an advantage. What I am trying to say is, we should not be critical in any manner whatsoever of the people who were around Satya, as he was then known, and who reacted to his strange behavior in various ways. With that preamble, I now wish to pick up from where I left off last time. There are lots of details. I can't go through that. But for those who are interested, I would strongly urge them to read them in Kasturi's incomparable books, Satyam Sivam Sundaram. I told you last time that even by the time Satya arrived in the school in Uravakunda, he was already well known because people coming from Bukkapatnam and Kamalapuram had talked about him. They said he was a very good student, he was a singer, he was extremely well behaved, loved by teachers and students, and more than anything else, he would just wave his hand and out would come something or the other. Well, they didn't call him a magician, but he was a miracle boy. And this materialization made Satya famous even before he actually arrived. Now, in Uravakunda, Satya added something more to mere materialization. And that was telling people where something that they had lost could be found. There are many incidents relating to this, finding lost goods, shall I say. I won't go into them, but I do need to mention or call attention to one particular incident because that reminds us of something that happened in the Shirdi avatar. In those days, we did not have taxis, we did not have cycle rickshaws, we did not have auto rickshaws. If people could not walk, there were two conveyances available. One was the rickshaw, which was pulled by human beings. This rickshaw was common all over East Asia, including India. And curiously, the only place in the world where you can still find human-pulled rickshaws is Kolkata or Calcutta, as it used to be known in old days. I don't know why they are continuing to have that abomination, but rickshaws are not yet extinct in Calcutta. Apart from rickshaws, we had in India the bullock cart, which could carry, depending on its size, anywhere between 4, this is the small bullock cart drawn by one bull, to 8, which is the big open bullock cart drawn by 2 bulls. I have traveled in all of these, by the way. There were also in small towns, not in villages, horse-drawn carriages. They were found all over India. In the north, they were called tongas, and tongas came in very different shapes. In south, they were called jatkas. And in the south, many of these jatkas were run by Muslims. You found Muslims in many towns. And one of the trade they applied was running jatkas. Now, one day in Uravakunda, a jatka owner a Muslim of course, came to Sathya and said, "The horse of my Jatka is lost. I'm not able to find it. It has sort of vanished. Can you tell me where it is?" People say you can sort of point out where lost goods can be found. Sathya smiled and said, "You go out of town, there is a grove there with lots of trees and grass under the trees. Your horse is grazing there." The man went there, a few kilometers outside town, found his horse, was very happy. When he came back to Uravakunda, he told all his people, friends, mostly fellow Muslims and Jatka owners. And after that, Sathya became very popular in the Jatka community, Jatka owners community, and many of them would come to him as he was going to school and say, "I'm going empty, would you like a free ride?" He would smile and say, "No," but occasionally he accepted rides, not because he wanted one, but just to be nice to the other people and show a sign of his love and grace. I now come to the month of March. Remember, I started in January. On March 8, 1940, Sathya suddenly became unconscious. There were rumors and whispers. Some people said he had been bitten by a scorpion, and some people said he had been bitten by a snake. What had happened was Sathya had become unconscious. There were plenty of snakes and scorpions in Uravakunda, and so it would not be unusual for a person to be either stung by a scorpion or bitten by a snake. However, there were no marks of any stinging or snake bite. What had happened was Sathya had become unconscious. But strangely, even though he was unconscious, he was speaking. It was not blabbering. He was actually giving a running commentary of what was happening somewhere else. People did not know that he was giving a running commentary. They thought he was blabbering, but later on they found out he was actually sort of elsewhere and talking about things happening there. So that was a very strange happening to many people. But next morning he became all right. So this was one type of unusual occurrence. A few days later, Sathya became abnormal again. Abnormal means what? Not going to school, not be going through the daily routine in the usual fashion. And on this occasion, he refused to speak, he refused to eat. And as a part of this abnormal behavior, suddenly Sathya, who was silent, would begin singing songs that were not heard before. Or he would start chanting Vedas and go on for hours non-stop. His brother was stunned. Sathya had never learned the Vedas. He had not studied Sanskrit in school. Sanskrit is the language of Vedas. And yet here he was chanting Vedas for hours together, non-stop. He was baffled. He didn't know how to manage this boy. He was at his wit's end. So he sent a message to his parents. They did not come immediately, but they did come to Uravakunda a few days later. And even as they were all scratching their heads worrying what to do, it so happened that the district medical officer of Anantapur came to Uravakunda for a medical camp. Back in those days, they were British days, medical facilities were extremely scarce, rare, and poor. You had a few doctors in towns and cities, but in villages, there were no doctors. Maybe in a small town, there would be a doctor and he would have to go to many villages in the neighborhood. I have seen this myself. In 1942, I had a forced halt for 1 year in a village due to the war. There was one doctor there, a Malayali doctor. It was a small town, very small town. And his name was Panikar. And if somebody fell ill in some neighboring village, they would send a bullock cart and he would go there, look at the patient, and try to treat the patient. Otherwise, they would have to come to him. So, what the government did was, for every district, Anantapur was the district, and it is in that district Puttaparthi is located, and Uravakonda also was located in that district. Is located, I should say. Anantapur had a district medical officer. He would go on a camp around the entire district. He will go to a town or a village, stay in that place for 3-4 days. Mostly he would go to small towns which were surrounded by many villages. Uravakonda was a small town. He came there for a camp, 1 week camp. And people said, why don't you show Sathya to the DMO or district medical officer? The district medical officer was essentially, as I told you, a one-man mobile hospital with no equipment other than a stethoscope, a thermometer, not even a pressure measuring instruments. In fact, back then, I hardly heard the word blood pressure because very few people had the instrument to measure blood pressure. And this doctor would have a bottle with some chemicals, and along with the doctor would come a man called a compounder. He was essentially a chemist. And the doctor will say, take 1 gram of this, take 4 gram of that, mix it with water and give it. And you have to take a bottle, he will pour it in the bottle and stick a paper marking dose. They'll say, take it every 4 hours and things like that. This thing that was given in the bottle used to be called mixture. And the mixture was made of the same 5 or 6 chemicals, that's all. But the proportions varied. And the man who did the mixing was called compounder. I don't know if you have heard Swami's discourses in the old days, he often used the word compounder. Compounder became extinct after 1975 or 80. After that, there were no compounders because the age of tablets and pills had come. That's all. The doctor will write you a prescription, you go to a shop and buy tablets or pills. But before that, there were what you call mixtures and compounders. So anyway, this doctor, DMO, examined Sathya and said, it's all due to hysteria. I will give you this medicine. You just give it to him. It will calm him down. He'll be all right. The DMO went away, but Sathya's strange habits continued. So the parents and the brother consulted astrologers. This is very common in India. If doctors can't solve the problem, go to an astrologer. The astrologers said there is something wrong with the house in which Seshamaraju and Sathya were staying. So what you have to do is, there are some evil spirits, you have to drive them away, you have to do this puja, that puja. And the net result of it was some money was spent, some priests were called, the puja was done, but nothing changed. So in this manner, different people were consulted, and every consultant gave his own diagnosis and cure. Of course, not all of them charged. Some people did it out of generosity and goodness of heart. This was very common. But I am sure some people had to be paid consultancy fees. Whatever it was, nothing worked. Now everybody was pretty scared. The month was April, and the school was closed for summer holidays. So what Venkamaraju said was, and actually Seshamaraju suggested it, Father, you take Sathya with you back to Puttaparthi. School is closed. He doesn't have to attend school. A change of place may do him some good. And that was readily accepted by Venkamaraju, particularly Isharamava, because she wanted to be near Sathya. So, Sathya came with his parents back to Puttaparthi. Change of place. Did it do him any good? No. The strange, abnormal behavior, quote unquote, continued. One day, some friends of Venkamaraju in Puttaparthi came and told him, listen, it is very clear that this boy is under the grip of some evil spirits. Those spirits have to be driven out. Unless they are driven out, he is going to remain like this. I can honestly tell you, I have seen people talk like that. People believed in evil spirits, taking possession of normal people and making them abnormal. And they would go through all kinds of quackery and magic tricks and so on and so forth, mantras, tantras, yantras, as people used to say, to get rid of the evil spirits. In villages, people believed all this. So it was no surprise that Venkamaraju believed in this. And the people who gave him this diagnosis also said, listen, there is a very good witch doctor. I would call him a witch doctor, but they would call him tantric perhaps. There's a good witch doctor in Khadri, about 40 kilometers or so. You go there, he will take care of the spirits, drive him out, and Sathya will become normal again. So, a trip was arranged to Kadri. Venkamaraju, Ishwarama, Sathya's elder sister, and Sathya, they all went by bullock cart from Puttaparthi to Kadri. They arrived at the house of this witch doctor, as they call him. They told him what the problem was. He said, I'll take care of it. He made Sathya sit on the floor. He sat. And that fellow didn't look like a very nice kind of doctor. On the other hand, he looked like a terrible, gruesome monster. And he looked wicked every inch of him. The parents were scared. And Venkama was also scared, but Sathya was very calm. He was not bothered. Even though the man looked evil from top to toe. So the man began his treatment. First he made some chants, did an animal sacrifice, and poured the blood all round Sathya. These people are getting worried already. He started shaving young Sathya's head with a knife, chanting mantras all the time. I am giving you a very condensed account of the horrible proceedings. And after shaving off hair in this region, the scalp region, he made 2 or 3 deep gashes. Blood spurted out. And the parents were scared, and Venkama screamed. Sathya kept quiet. And this fellow was chanting all kinds of mantras, so-called. And he looked at them and said, don't worry, don't worry. This blood will drain off all the evil spirits and you'll become normal. It is necessary. Be quiet, huh? Don't cry. But Sathya didn't cry. He didn't utter a murmur, not even a whimper. This infuriated the doctor because normally when he gave this kind of horrible treatment to patients, they would scream and try to jump and get up and run away. This boy didn't do anything. So what he did was he took lime, lime pieces, cut it, squeezed the juice in the open wounds. Now lime juice is nothing but acid. And if you pour acid in a wound, it can be horrible. People will scream, yell, cry, not a word. This fellow got wild. He took a big stick and started beating. You are hiding in there, come out, come out, come out. And he was telling them, I am beating the devil, I am not beating this boy. They were now, Venkamaraju, Venkama and Ishwarama were now panicking. They wanted to somehow go away. But they didn't know how to take their little boy from the clutches of this man and run. So Sathya just signaled, you just go. And they left. This fellow was looking, where have they gone? And suddenly Sathya slipped away. They got into the bullock cart and came back. It was a nice nightmarish experience. Kasturi has described it in great detail. And so I won't go into all those gory aspects. All that I will say is, A, the parents were relieved that they had managed to snatch Sathya out of the grip of this wicked man. And B, Sathya did not utter one word of complaint. Years later, I am talking of something like 2005, 7, 8, days when Swami used to move in a chair. I have walked on many occasions by the side of Swami. If Swami's chair was there, I would be somewhere there. Or if Swami was sitting in a chair and he called me to speak to him, I would be standing. On those occasions, I've had a chance to see the head of Swami. His hair, which used to be very thick and so attractive at one time, had begun to thin. And through the thinning hair, I could see scars of long gashes. So this story is really true. And I've seen the signs of the torture. The question comes up again and again. If Sathya was God, why did he have to put up with all this nonsense? We shall come to that later. So, getting back to the mainstream story, even a witch doctor had been tried, but nothing worked. Sathya continued to have his abnormal days, and the parents were now absolutely flabbergasted. They were at their wits' end. Sathya was, as I told you, in Puttaparthi, and in his abnormal days, he would show signs of divinity in various ways. Stories leaked out, people would come to see him and all that. And although the parents were all the time worried and feeling that something was wrong with Sathya, the people outside who did not see his abnormal spells like not eating, remaining silent, etc., saw only flashes of his divinity. For them, he was exceptional. But for people at home, Sathya was an enigma, a mystery, and a puzzle all rolled into one. The parents then said, "We will leave him alone. Let him do what he wants. We are not going to interfere." On 23rd May 1940, something unusual happened. It happened to be a Thursday, and that day Sathya was very cheerful, unusually cheerful, bright, and jovial. He materialized flour, sugar candy, sweets in plenty and gave them generously to people around him. Word spread and big crowd collected, and he went on materializing and giving. His father was not at home, and everybody was very happy to see this materialization and receive prasadam from him. And when Venkamaraju came, he found there was a big crowd in front of his house. He said, "What's going on?" And somebody in the road in front of his house said, "You don't know, your son is materializing prasadam and giving. Go inside, you will also get it." He did not like this materialization business. Of course, he did not know who Satya was, and he felt this was some kind of trickery or magic. And he did not like people to be fooled by magic. We can't blame Venkamaraju at that time. Nobody knew what was happening. Anyway, he went inside, puzzled, disappointed, and angry. He was puzzled because he could not understand materialization. He was disappointed because Satya was not studying as he should have been. He was such a good student. And he was angry because, all the crowd of people are coming. Tomorrow they will say all sorts of things against him. So he was worried about family, honor, reputation, so on. And to make matters worse, just as he was entering the house, somebody said, "Hey, you know something? Your son is really God." That infuriated him. He became hopping mad. He grabbed a big stick, went inside, pulled Satya by the hand, and took him to a corner where there was no one. He held the stick menacingly and asked, "Who are you? Are you a god? Are you a ghost? Are you a madcap? Tell me who you are." Satya smiled. "I am none of these. I am none of these. And Venkataraman said, then who are you? Sathya said, I am Sai Baba. Sai Baba, what are we to do with you? The stick dropped. Sathya smiled. Very simple. Worship me. This is the father and son talking. How are we to worship you? And when are we to worship you? Worship me every Thursday. How to worship me? I will tell you. The father shook his head and went away. He did not know who Sai Baba was. You must remember the year is 1940. Sai Baba of Shirdi was not well known in the south. Absolutely little. Although I must tell you, I have heard of Shirdi Baba in 1942. That's a different story. Anyway, in Puttaparthi, Venkataraman did not know who Sai Baba was. All he knew was that his son said, I am Sai Baba and you should worship me every Thursday. And that's how Thursday worship of young Sathya started, even though he was a student. These worship sessions used to take place somewhere in the village. And one of those Thursdays, someone challenged this boy, Sathya. You say you are Sathya, you are Sai Baba. We know you only as Sathya, the son of Venkataraman. If you are Sai Baba, show us some proof. Sathya smiled and said, get me some flowers. So they brought a bowl full of jasmine flowers. You know jasmine, that small white flower, which doesn't look very impressive but has got a wonderful fragrance. So Sathya put his hand in the bowl, took a big fistful of flowers and simply scattered them like this on the floor. And when everybody looked at the floor, the flowers had neatly formed into the word Sai Baba. He just dropped flowers like this casually, but they had arranged themselves into the word Sai Baba in Telugu, of course. Now, no power on earth could have done that. And it was very clear to all those who witnessed this event that there was something very special about this boy called Sathya, and that he was unquestionably divine in some way or the other. So, with every passing day, there was one new sign that there was something unusual about Sathya, and that unusual aspect was connected with a latent divinity. In spite of these hints coming one after the other in various ways, Seshamaraju was not convinced. He was focused only on Sathya and his studies. He is doing well in school, getting through school, going to college, and so on and so forth. He was on an entirely different track. And anything that happened to take Sathya away from the track disturbed him. It was June, school was to reopen, so he came and took Sathya back. He said, look, whatever it is, he has to continue in school, let him come back with me. So, back to Ravakunda, Sathya went. Sathya did not resist. He just went back. And he went back for the reason, as we now know, that he had decided to pull the veil across his incognito existence in Uravakunda. Uravakunda was to receive a certain blessing, and so he went with his brother back to Uravakunda. I will stop here and continue from this point in my next talk. For today, I thank you all for being with me, and I hope you like this series. If you do, you can do two things. One is to write to us and tell us how you like this series or what you would like to hear and so on. And the other is to tell others who do not know about the series as yet. I take leave of you for now. God bless you all. And as always, I offer this talk at the lotus feet of our Bhagwan, by whose grace we all exist. Thank you and Jai Sai Ram.